the Lord wants you to eat, then you will have to eat. So this man took this as a challenge. He said, all right, I accept this challenge, although the saint wasn't giving him this challenge. So he just kind of looked at it as a challenge himself. And he said that tomorrow, the whole day, I'm going to fast. And if by the next day morning, I have totally fasted from food and water, then will you accept that the Lord cannot force me to eat if I don't want to eat? And the saint said, well, I know that if the Lord wants you to eat, and you will have to eat. However, if you want to challenge the Lord, then it is up to you. So he said, yes, I will prove it to you. The gentleman said that I will prove it to you that this won't happen. So he took this challenge very seriously. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu, welcome back. Yeah, we can see you. Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
That's okay, Prabhu. Everything is good.
Yeah. My cell phone sometimes behaves awkwardly.
It happens. No.
Yeah. So yes, so he took it up as a challenge, and he decided to go to a remote place in the forest and hide himself. So according to his intelligence, he thought that maybe I should just climb a tree and hide myself there amongst the dense foliage. So he climbed up a very tall banyan tree, and it was very dense, and he climbed as far as he could to the top, and he hid there. And he was very true to his word, because he knew that the Supreme Lord is everywhere, and he had to be careful that he does not try any tricks on him. So he stayed hidden. So the morning passed, it became afternoon. He was feeling hungry, but still he somehow or the other controlled his urges, and he stayed there on the tree. It was late afternoon, and he thought that, oh, this is going good. Almost half the day is done, and I'm secure. At that point of time, somewhere in the late afternoon, some travelers from the they were passing through. They were coming from a marketplace. They were all traders. So they came to this forest, and they knew that their journey would be long, so they wanted to just cook food and eat. So they had all the ingredients for cooking. So they sat down and right under the tree, and they started cooking. And the flavor and the fragrance reached up to the man, and the man was really feeling very much attracted to the food that was being cooked, but he held back. He said, no, 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 I have to just stay away from food. So he controlled his urges. He could see the wonderful preparations that they were making, and he just shut his eyes, and he kind of held his nose like this, so that he could just breathe, or he put his hand over his nose. He did not want to be affected by the fragrance of the wonderful preparations that those people had made. So the people, they made their food, they cooked their food, the traders, and they did the offering, and then they had their early supper. And they also prepared a lot of ingredients, food preparations that they could carry with them for the night, because their journey would be overnight, and they would reach their destination the next day. So they used this time to make those preparations. And so they made those food preparations to carry with them, and they tied up all of these preparations in various bags. At that moment, there was a huge commotion. Somebody came running, and he said that there are dacoits coming this way, and they're chasing us, so run for your lives. So all of these traders, they ran for their lives. They left behind all of that food preparation, and they left. So now this man was alone, and he really was feeling very hungry. And he looked at all those bags, the cloth bags, and the other bags, the containers that were filled with food, and he knew what was in it. However, he found the strength to not come down and eat it. Meanwhile, the dacoits came running through, and the dacoits found the food, and they were very excited. And one of them, some of them really were they were about to eat the food. However, the leader of the dacoits, there is this food right here in the middle of the fort, and there's brown. It is quite possible that somebody will cheat us in poison. So they became, they did not eat the food. So what do we do? So they said that if this food has been cooked, so they started looking for somebody who would be around there. And this gentleman was abducted. When he realized that the dacoits are now searching, and there are chances that he could find him, he came to stop his fall. He moved his lips, and there was some rustling up there, some noise. So the dacoits looked up and saw him. He knew that we are coming here, and therefore he has poisoned this food, and he is wanting to loot us. So we must punish this fellow. So they called out to him to really torture him. So out of fear, gentleman comes down the tree, and they ask him, so who are you and why are you here? So he tells them, all right, if what you say is true. He tells them the story about how the traders were there and they were looking and they ran away. So they say, okay, so if you have not prepared the food, and they eat the food, prove it to us that it's not poisoned. And the man said, no, I cannot eat the food. And this made the dacoits more suspicious. So they said, hey, this person is not speaking it because obviously it's poisoned it, and he's not, he's our enemy. So they were about to kill him. That is when the man said, please listen to my story. He said, no story. Either you prove to us that the food is not poisoned, or you die. So the man was forced to eat the food. And then he told them the story about how he had accepted that challenge. And the dacoits, they were like, when they saw that he had eaten the food, he had partaken, of all the food items, preparations that were there, and it was all right. They were convinced. So they said, all right, we are convinced that you're telling us a true story. Now run away from here and don't challenge God. That is what the dacoits told him. So he goes back to the saint, and he tells him that actually what you said is true. And now I realize that how foolish I have been. And this has been an eye-opener for me. So kindly give me further instructions. And the gentleman, he had a complete change. It was a life-changing moment for him. Game changer, as you say. So he became actually a very, very well-renowned saint in India. So we see that from the story, we see that how Krishna is so merciful. And at the same time, we see that because of our ignorance, we sometimes challenge the ability of God. Because of ignorance, we sometimes have more faith in our own abilities than the abilities of the Supreme Absolute Truth. And why is that? The ego. So there is another wonderful quote which can be inspiring, and it is that we must dissolve our ego before it dissolves our existence or ourself. So we have this short span of human life, and that seems to be our existence right now. And we identify with that, and therefore it seems to be ourself right now. This is who we are. Our passport says that, all our ID cards says that, this is who we are. And in most of our dealings, that is how we introduce ourselves. Even if we are initiated, the idea is that this 5'8" body, or this 50, 60, or 120, 140 pounds, or 50, 60, 70 kilos of this existence is me. Yeah, I've taken initiation, and my name is so and so Das. However, the existence primarily stays the same. The name has changed. Certain parts of the day we remember that we are actually the servant of the Lord, and the rest of the day we live our existence according to the physical existence that we have. That I am a human being, and I am this body. We live according to that. So unless and until we dissolve our ego, this fixated understanding of our physical existence, unless and until we dissolve our ego, we are in a very dangerous situation. Hence, we must dissolve our ego, and the practice of Krishna consciousness trains us in this process. So dissolve our ego before it dissolves our existence. In Mukundamala Stotra, King Kulashekar has prayed wonderfully, which this prayer is very helpful because it keeps us inspired. Idam shariram parinam peshalam patanta vashyam shatasandhi jarjaram kimaushadam pritchasi moodha durmate niramayam krishna rasayanam piba. King Kulashekar is praying that there is something known as Krishna Rasayanam. And this Krishna Rasayan is actually prophylactic, and it can be used prophylactically. It can be used as a preventive measure. The preventive measure to prevent what? What is it prophylaxis for? Prophylactic towards the short span of human life that we had. It is a cure, and it also helps us prevent death. Otherwise, idam shariram parinam, if we believe in our existence as a human being, as a physical being, if we believe that that is the be all and end all of our existence, and therefore I eat to exist, I do chanting to exist, or I have relationships to exist. And what is our existence? The physical body. That, oh, this person said this to me, and that person said that to me, or I said to this person, or I said to that person, or this is what happened to me there, and this is what the community has done towards me. All these ideas that me, I, that is all in relationship to the physical existence. But what is this physical existence? Parinama peshalam patante avashyam shatasandhi jarjaram. This physical existence ultimately at one point of time will be so very difficult. It will be so very inconvenient because all the joints would have worn out. Oh, again, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. I'm so sorry. Again, I had this issue.
We don't have any control over internet, but now we can hear you.
Hare Krishna. Yes. It's somehow my phone is getting heated up, and that is why it stops.
I see. But we are okay now. We see you.
Yes.
We can see you.
Yes. So let me continue. So Krishna Rasayanam Piba. Yeah. So the existence that we have so much faith in, what is its result? Its result is Shata Sandhi Jarjaram. The body is going to be, it is going to decay, and then it is going to be very painful existence in one sense, because all the limbs, all the bones, all the joints, they are going to be worn out, and they're going to be more prone to disease, and more prone to physical issues. And finally, Parinam Peshalam, ultimately it is going to just turn to a skeleton. It is going to become just a skeleton, or turn into dust. So Krishna Rasayanam is Krishna Rasayan, the elixir of the holy name of Krishna, Piba. By drinking this, the holy names of Krishna, or by hearing and chanting the nectarian glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, we actually are taking prophylactic treatment. What is a treatment? What is a so it is, or we are actually taking a preventive measure. What is a preventive measure? That the body may go through its changes. However, with the end of the body, or with the deterioration of the body, we do not become affected, which means that we actually transcend the physical challenges. Hence, Niramayam Krishna Rasayanam. This is Krishna Rasayan. It is not only helpful at the time of death, it is also helpful during life. It prevents death in the sense that we, after the physical body dies, we achieve eternal life. And even while we are in the physical body, we are able to transcend the limitations of the physical body. Hence, Niramayam. It is prophylactic medicine. Niramayam. For this to happen, to be able to believe in Kulashekar Maharaj's instructions, or in Kulashekar Maharaj's guidelines, one has to be philosophically strong. One has to be convinced of the philosophy of life. One has to be convinced of the philosophy of Krishna consciousness. And this conviction increases it is inversely proportional to our ego, the fixated understanding of ourselves as our physical existence. See, so as this understanding decreases, as our ego decreases, the more we are able to transcend the material existence. That is the idea. And what helps us decrease our deep connection with the ego? Knowledge. The understanding of philosophy. So knowledge and the understanding of knowledge and the application of knowledge helps us achieve that potential. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, when Lord Chaitanya is not, it is described by Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami in Chaitanya Charitamrita that when Lord Chaitanya is not very eager or happy or is not open to meeting Maharaj Pratap Rudra, because he's a king and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is a sannyasi and there are certain protocols. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu sees Maharaj Pratap Rudra give up his dress of a king and accept the dress of a menial servant, of a street sweeper, and take the broom in his hand and sweep the street very menially in front of Lord Jagannath's cart, Lord Chaitanya accepted him. He gave him his blessings. He gave him his darshan, his embrace, and he accepted his service. How did that happen? Because Lord Chaitanya could see that the king had, he was practicing the understanding of the philosophy. Sometimes it can be a king can just ritualistically accept the broom in front of Lord Jagannath's cart and do that activity. Just a few strokes of moving the broom here and there and then handing it to someone else. However, King Pratap Rudra was doing it very mindfully, heartfelt, in a very heartfelt way. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu could see that. He could see what others could not see. The other devotees did understand that Maharaj Pratap Rudra was very much devoted to Lord Chaitanya. It is the Lord who sees that we actually are transforming our lives. The Lord can understand it because he's the Lord within our heart. So he could see that the king had absolutely no ego there. There was no understanding of his physical existence. His only understanding was that I am this servant of the Supreme Lord Sri Jagannath. And it is my great fortune to be sweeping the street, the path on which Lord Jagannath's cart would pass. And why would one want to sweep that? So that the Lord has a very comfortable journey. And by sweeping the street, one clears it of all obstacles for the cart to pass over. So the king did it the entire way, and Lord Chaitanya was very pleased and he gave his mercy to the king. Hence, when we have knowledge and when we understand that knowledge, and if for that understanding, there is self-understanding, and also if we seek, when we need help, we seek help from those who can help us with understanding. And when we seek help, we can do that in the association of devotees. We can do that by accepting a spiritual master and serving the spiritual master and masters, and accepting siksha from them, accepting instructions from them. So when we deepen our understanding, and with that understanding we transform our lives, our ego leaves, it goes away. And hence it is, somebody very famously said that the moment one becomes aware of the ego in ourselves, strictly speaking, there is no more any ego, but just an old conditioned mind pattern. And with that awareness, we can deal with that old conditioned mind pattern and just trash it away. So the ego and awareness are the opposites of each other. Ego implies unawareness or ignorance. And therefore, awareness and ego cannot exist together. Hence, if we are practicing Krishna consciousness, we can say comfortably or confidently that we are actually practicing as long as there is the dawn of awareness, or as long as there is the light of awareness, or the light of transformative understanding. And if we can understand that it is simply a ritual, although we are doing certain practices, however, it can simply be a ritual, which basically means that it is not heartfelt if there is unawareness or lack of knowledge. And unawareness it coexists with the ego. Ego and unawareness, or ego and ignorance, go hand in hand. And eternal life and the understanding of being the servant and the servant of the Supreme Lord Krishna goes hand in hand with enlightenment. So, coming to our title today, ego's ultimate disappointment is an enlightenment. When one is enlightened, ego gets severely disappointed, and ego understands there is no hope, and ego goes away from our lives. And it is very happy ending for us. So enlightenment, which Prabhupada would say is Krishna consciousness. Krishna consciousness is ego's ultimate disappointment. And in the present age of Kali Yuga, according to the teachings of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and as passed down to us through the teachings of Srila Prabhupada, we know that Harer Nam, Eva Kevalam, Kalau Nasteva, Pratir Anyatha. The holy names of the Lord award complete enlightenment. And therefore, with sincerity and deep dedication, we take up to the process of chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
That was a wonderful class, Prabhu, and some few things I can remember from the class. You nicely explained to dedicate time to Krishna, although Krishna said, I am the time I am. In Bhagavad Gita 11:32. So we need to give his time to him, and you are encouraging us to give our time to Krishna. And he also nicely says that how the ego will disappear as soon as we have enlightenment. Wonderful. I think you are saying that ego is inversely proportional to spiritual advancement. That what I understand. So ego increases, spiritual development goes backward, downwards. Thank you, Prabhu. And also we learned from the class that ego is something that we need to suppress or get rid of. Instead, we need to practice our humility. Thank you for a wonderful class. Could you kindly explain a little bit more about how the effect of ego increasing and spiritual advancement decreasing? Just in a few short, if you can, if you have time, Prabhu. Thank you.
Excuse me. Hello.
Yes, Prabhu, go ahead.
Maharaj gave a good lecture, but he gave a reference to one book. I want to know the name of the book. Because he was referring to the ego or something like this. One word to use is prophylactic. And the other word I don't know, he gave reference from some book.
Yes, the book is Mukund, it is a prayer composed by King Kulashekar, and it is called as Mukundamala Stotra, and we have it available at our ISKCON bookstores or even the online ISKCON store. Srila Prabhupada has given his translations on it.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thanks.
You're welcome. So, Amar Thakur Prabhu, your question. How you were wanting to understand how unawareness leads to increase in ego, or when we do our practice when we do our spiritual practices without being mindful, then how it leads to the increase in ego. That is a question, isn't it?
Yes, Prabhu. Yes, Prabhu. Thank you.
So we already have impressions from so many lifetimes, and all these impressions are there in our consciousness, in our present life. These impressions, they create an understanding of our existence. That is why we try to protect ourselves from disease, from hunger, from pain. That is how we try to protect ourselves. When a child does that, as soon as a child is born, the child tries to protect itself. We call it the need of the child, but basically it is trying to preserve and protect one's life as a human being. This is also seen in other species of life. So where does that come from? That instinct come from? In modern day science or modern day understanding, we call it as instinct. It could be animal instinct or human instinct. It comes from, according from the philosophical books, we understand that it comes from our previous lifetimes. We carry some impressions from previous lifetimes. And so there is already the burden of that. We are already carrying the burden of previous lifetimes. Now, if previous lifetimes, if we have performed spiritual practices, those impressions also come through. Now, depending upon the association that we are in, who our parents are, what is the community where we are born, what are the teachings we receive as we are growing up, depending on that, either our understanding of material existence becomes more solidified, that, oh, you're now a student of this grade, you are a member of our community, and oh, you sing very nicely, or you dance very wonderfully, or you have this potential as a sports person, and you can try and develop that potential. So all of these understandings solidify the impression that I am a physical being. However, if the teachings about one's spiritual existence, I'm sorry. Yeah. So if Krishna conscious teachings, let us just directly call it Krishna conscious teachings or God conscious also given to us, then we also awaken those impressions from previous lifetimes where we have had spiritual practices, and that gives us the ability to have faith in spiritual existence too. So now both of these go along together. Growing up, the kind of growing up, the kind of inputs that we take defines the ambitions that we have in life. Now, so for someone like Prahalad, his ambition is very directly seen. Whereas for somebody like Hiranyakashipu, his ambition is very clearly seen. Hiranyakashipu could understand that Lord Vishnu is the root of all existence. However, his ambition is to be better than that. And we see Prahlad Maharaj could understand that Lord Vishnu is the source of everything and he exists everywhere. And his ambition is to become the servant of the Lord and to worship him. So these are two juxtapositions that the living entity can take. And there are so many shades from where Prahlad is to where Hiranyakashipu is. So if Hiranyakashipu, Prahlad is considered to be the North Pole and Hiranyakashipu to be the South Pole. So there is so many positions between the North and the South Pole that the living entity can have. So whenever the balance shifts more towards ambitions of materialistic life, with compromising our spiritual practices, that is where the material ego or the false ego becomes more prominent. And wherever the balance during our material ambitions is towards making it an offering to Krishna, like Arjuna wanting to be successful in the Mahabharata war was to please Krishna also. So one may have material ambitions. However, the consciousness is, or we are being mindful that we have to make this as an offering to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So that is where the false ego gets suffocated. And doing this over a period of time actually brings us over a period, over say a few years, like 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. It could happen immediately, as it happened in the case of Prahlad Maharaj. But some of us may be a little pragmatic, and we may say that, yeah, for us it could take 4 years, 5 years, 8 years, 10 years, 12 years, 15, 20, 30, 40 years, whatever it takes us to evolve more. So what makes the ego increase is when we run after our material ambitions, or we try to achieve our material ambitions at the cost of our spiritual upliftment, at the cost of being mindful or being thoughtful or being absorbed in our spiritual practices. For example, if you are chanting the holy names of the Lord, but at the same time we are thinking about our material affairs and management of our material affairs, so there is a drag in our spiritual evolution. So it is as if our legs are bound by some weights, and it is although we are trying to make spiritual progress, it is very slow, or it is not happening because of this weight that is there. Hence, Prabhupada would always he would always try to motivate us, Srila Prabhupada, by saying that we have to be conscious of Krishna in each and every activity of our lives. So we can begin that by taking small steps. Already, if one is kind of doing it for 2 hours a day, and one is only doing it in certain activities, then maybe over the period of next 6 months or 1 year, we would want to apply that. We would want to make Krishna the center of some other activity too. Like, for example, while one is driving, one can chant, or one can sing bhajans. One is driving to work, one can sing bhajans and multitask. One should be focused on the road too, and also sing bhajans at the same time. And that is possible. Multitasking is possible. Most of you are householders. You know how to do it. Like be aware of what should be done at work, and also be aware of the needs at home. So you multitask. So I was just giving an example that how slowly one can bring in more activities under the ambit of absorption in Krishna. And if one is not able to do that, and unfortunately, if even in our practice of, and even in our spiritual practices, the absorption becomes our material ambitions, they become the absorption that we have, then unfortunately our ego is going to increase. And if we don't have spiritual practices and we are just being materialistically ambitious, then the ego is going to increase exponentially.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Prabhu.
You're welcome.
Yes, I think there are 2 questions. One is Jil Prabhu, and another question before Jil Prabhu. The question is from a devotee, says that how can we get rid of ego in daily life? Good question.
Yes. Every day we should try to dedicate some part of our day to being very spiritually ambitious, like 100% spiritually ambitious, which basically means that that part of the day we just dedicate to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And we should have a plan that how over the number of years we can find more time to do that. Maybe over the weekends we find more time to do it, or every single day we find more time to do it as we rearrange our material affairs. Is that helpful?
It's good answer. Thank you, Prabhu. And now if you have time now that Prabhu, Jill Prabhu wants to speak, ask a question actually. So he's going to ask that question directly to you.
Please accept my humble obeisances. Thank you so much for the lecture today. It's my fortune that I'm listening to a lecture. So like the question is that like sometimes it happens that when you try to enlighten someone, like or tell anything to someone, but due to their ego's disappointment, the ego gets more inflated and they get hurt. Like they feel like, oh, why are you teaching me? Like, who are you to teach me this way? So like at this point, like what should we do?
Thank you for your question. And I also feel very fortunate to be in your association. And I am very thankful to you that you very patiently heard what I had to share. So thank you very much for that. Coming back to your question. Whenever we have an experience where other people seemingly are not receiving our words of enlightenment that we are trying to share, when it appears like that, personally, when that happens to me, it kind of makes me aware that this is the same experience that Krishna must be having with me on so many occasions in my life. Because he is every moment offering spiritual enlightenment, and there are so many times in the day that I kind of am not accepting it. And then I think, this is just my personal realization, then I think that Krishna is still so patient and still so caring. So if I understand that Krishna is within my heart and all the knowledge is coming from me, is actually coming from Krishna, who is the Lord in the heart, because he gives knowledge, he gives remembrance. So when I'm speaking with another person, let Krishna in the heart speak to that person. And Krishna is very patient. So if today that person is not able to accept what Krishna is offering, the Paramatma within the heart is offering, then the Paramatma is going to patiently find so many other moments to do that. The Paramatma is always going to try to connect with the other person. So since the Paramatma wants to be patient with the other person, I, as the vehicle where the Paramatma is situated, I may also want to be patient to let the Paramatma work without me causing any obstruction. So least resistance on my part. So patience is a good virtue, I guess. At the same time, we will want to be as transparent as possible, so that the Paramatma can transmit that knowledge to the other person.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thanks, everyone. If anyone still have a question or can ask.
Yeah, Prabhu, this is it's me, Rohinipriya. Haribol, Hare Krishna, Rohinipriya Das Prabhu. So thank you very much for the wonderful class today. And my question is, Prabhu, this in pandemic situation, and people we cannot have the close associations. So what is your advice? How we can keep those associations? Get into touch with the devotees, and how any advisable methods there, so that I can follow that.
Dear Nitai Prabhu ki jai. Dear Nitai Prabhu is a transcendental Narada Muni of Scarborough.
Good question.
Short answer, dear Nitai Prabhu. I think this pandemic has given us the opportunity to be physically Bhajananandis and virtually Goshtyanandis.
Okay.
So
Okay, Prabhu.
a Bhajananandi is someone who practices solitary spiritual practice, right?
Yeah.
And Goshtyanandi
Yeah.
is someone who practices, who has spiritual practices in the association of other people, where there's discussion.
Yes.
So on the
Yes.
virtual platform, we can be Goshtyanandis, we can discuss Krishna consciousness. And because physically there are limitations now, we can be Bhajananandis. We can do our own solitary spiritual practices.
Yes, Prabhu. Yes, Prabhu. Nice answer. Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Very good, Prabhu. It's a good learning. The Prabhu's class is always very important, and we get good points to carry and take with us. And the last one, Prabhu said that, yeah, that's nice that virtual is the reality, new reality, that virtual classes are there. So from home, we can attend classes and we can get hear lectures like exalted devotees like Rohinipriya Prabhu. He's not in Canada, he's not in Scarborough, but we are listening to him, we are interacting with him. So this is the new reality. Thank you, Prabhu, for the answer. And thank you for giving us your valuable time. You're always with one Scarborough devotees and giving us the spiritual knowledge to prevent better than treatment. Like, you're a doctor. So your words, I see that you are doctor, but you're also a spiritual doctor. Thank you, Prabhu. Thanks for your time, and we are very grateful to you. Thanks to all the devotees. Our classes will be posted on YouTube, Facebook, YouTube, and WhatsApp, and our website. And if you want to hear more lectures from Rohinipriya Prabhu, please join on Facebook. He has so many classes, as I said earlier, in English as well as in Hindi. Thanks, everyone. Have a wonderful time.
So I have a question. Is the temple open today at 3 to 5? It's
No.
still every Sunday?
No,
That is
cut off it.
Okay.
Okay. And thanks, everyone. And have a wonderful time. Thanks for your association. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.